Hello everyone. So in this part of the video, we're talking about how do we split an array, be it a one-dimensional array or a two-dimensional array. In the previous video, if you noticed, we were talking about concatenating arrays to join two arrays. Here we're talking about how do you split an existing array, either into two or three or whatever. So let's go ahead with the first method. The first method uses a function named as split or vsplit. Okay, I have taken examples of two-dimensional arrays because one-dimensional array is easy to split. But though, before I go into my example, let me just get you to the one-dimensional array. Suppose you wanted to split a one-dimensional array. Then what happens? Okay, so for example's sake, let's say I have a one-dimensional array A, and the elements of the array are 1, 7, 8, 5, 9, 3. Okay, these are the elements of the array. So this is my one-dimensional array. If I want to split this array into equal halves, okay, what could I do? Probably I could say, when I say print, np.split. Split is the function that we are using for splitting arrays. Okay, specifically if it's one-dimensional array, we only use split. If it's two-dimensional arrays, we could use another function as well. I will come to it a little later. Okay, and when I say a comma 2, what does this mean? This means this array A has to be split into two equal divisions. Can I split this array into two equal divisions? Yes. This is going to be the splitting. So what's the result of this? You will get the first array, okay, which is 1, 7, 8. Then you will get another array, which is going to be 5, 9, and 3, because you have split the one-dimensional array into two equal parts. Now, instead of writing print, I could store these split. See, when you print, what happens? It only prints the split, the array which has been split is with you, which is A, but the two parts that it gets split into is not stored anywhere. It's only displayed. If you want to store it somewhere, what could you do? You could write B comma C is equal to np.split and A comma 2. Okay, so what happens is the array gets split into two. The first half, now this becomes your first half. The 1, 7, 8 will be stored in an array named as B, and the elements 5, 9, 3 will be stored in an array named as C. But that doesn't display it, okay? You need to say print B or print C. So you can use the split function to split a one-dimensional array. Also, remember when you are splitting using this method, where you specify the name of the array followed by a number which says how many times you need to split, you need to remember that your array should be, giving you equal divisions. When you split, it has to be an equal array. Both the array or the three arrays or the four arrays that you split the bigger array into should be of equal sizes. Is that clear? Otherwise, it gives you an error. For example, if I say split this array, the same array, let's say if I write np.split A comma 3, okay? Now, first you need to think is, can I split this array into three equal divisions? Yes. Let me just change my color and show you the splitting. It would be, you would have one element, one array, two array, and three array. So splitting it into three parts is possible. Okay, but if I had written np.split A comma 4, then there is no way to equally split the array A into four parts. In such scenarios, it will give you an error. Clear? Okay, so this is about splitting a one-dimensional array. Okay, let's go to our example where I have shown you splitting of a two-dimensional array. Okay, let's look at the example. What does this line do? This line is basically doing nothing but creating an array A with the elements specified. So for diagrammatic purpose, I am writing the array here. So you have 0, you have 1, you have 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the first row, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on the next row, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 on the next row, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. So these are the elements of your two-dimensional array A. Okay, let me just give it its index numbering. Along axis 0, this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. And along axis 1, this is your axis 0, correct? Axis 0. This is your axis 1, right? So what's the indexing there? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let's come to the split function. It says split the array A into two equal halves. Now, when you look at a two-dimensional array, there are two ways of splitting it. I can either split it along axis 0 or I can split it along axis 1. When nothing is specified, the splitting always happens along axis 0, which means I need to split it, give a cut across axis 0 to divide the array into two halves. And obviously you will agree with me that if I have to divide this into two equal halves, I need to be giving a cut there. And when I give a cut there, the top part of array A is stored in array B, and the bottom elements of array A is stored in array C. And now when I say print B and print C, print B would print the top part of the array, that's the first two rows, and print C would display the next two rows. Okay, now split by default, remember, splits across axis 0. Now to split across axis 0, we also have another function in Python which is called vsplit. That is vertical splitting. So you are splitting along the vertical axis. Vertical axis is your axis 0. So whether you write vsplit a comma 2 or whether you write split a comma 2, the result is going to be the same. Okay, so let's just see that what would be the output displayed. There you have print B. This is the top part is your array B and the bottom part is your array C. Is that clear? Okay, let's get ahead and see whether we could split it along axis 1 as well. So let me just clear my annotations. Okay, we move on to splitting along the other axis. Okay, so let me redraw this array once again. I have taken the same array that I've taken in the first example. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, now they're asking me to split again, but note here, it says split the array into two equal divisions, but you need to now use axis 1. So you can't be splitting along this axis. You have to be splitting along axis 1. Okay, so now when I split along axis 1, do you agree with me that if I have to split along axis 1 and I need two equal divisions, the splitting is going to look like this? So what does it mean? The first part is stored in variable B and the next part is stored in variable C. So here I am mentioning along which axis to split. I just informed you earlier that if you do not specify the axis, it is going to be splitting along axis 0. That is your vertical axis. But if you're going to split it along axis 1, you need to specify axis is equal to 1. In the previous case, you could have said axis is equal to 0 and it would still be fine. Clear? Now, like we had the vsplit function helping us to do the same task in the previous example, here we have the hsplit function, which says split along the horizontal axis. And axis 1 is my horizontal axis, so the splitting is done. And we get the result as you see here. One interesting thing that you need to know among both the splits, whether it is along axis 1 or along axis 0, if you give a number where I cannot get equal divisions, it will give you an error. So for example, if I said a comma 4, okay, now in this example, if you look at this example, there is no way that I can horizontally split the array into 4 equal divisions. So in that scenario, it will give you an error. Clear? Okay, so I assume split, vsplit and hsplit is clear, but split has a slight variation also, which you can use in your programs. And let me just show you that. So that's my array B that I created, and that's my array C. Okay, let's look at splitting, but here we are not talking about splitting an array into equal divisions, but we're talking about splitting using indexing method. Okay, so if you see on your screen, I have already diagrammatically drawn the 2D array, and I have mentioned its axis. Okay, and the index numbers here have to be mentioned, which I have forgotten. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, here if you see the splitting, it says split 1, 3. Okay, let me just explain this correctly. What does 1, 3 mean? Okay, when you are using this method of indexing, you will always get 3 arrays. Okay, what does the first array consist of? The first array consists of the beginning of the indexes, which we know is 0, to less than the number specified here. So less than 1. What is beginning at 0 and less than 1? Only index 0. Fine. Okay. When we are talking about the next array, the second array, it says from the number you've specified here, that's 1, to less than the second number that you've specified here, to less than 3. What are the elements which is starting at 1? So you have 1, and then less than 3. So you have 1 as well as 2. The third array generated, okay, is going to be starting at 3 till the end of the indexes. So in this scenario, now important is, do you think it's going to be indexes 3, 4, and 5 or just 3? It is just going to be 3, because by default, when you don't specify anything with the split function, it is doing across axis 0. Okay, so let me just show you the cutting that it would do. So you would get 3 arrays. The first array, the first cut is here because the first array should include only index 0. The second array should include elements at index 1 and 2. So now if I cut this array, into 3 parts, this is how it would look. So the first array, which is B, would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second array C would have 2 rows of elements, and the third array D would have 1 row of element again. Now remember one thing, when you're using the indexing method, remember that it need not be equal division. Now in this scenario, it's unequal. The first array, that's B and D, sizes are the same, but C is not matching. So this method allows you to split arrays into unequal divisions, whereas the previous method allows you to split arrays into equal division. Clear? Okay, so this is how it would look if the splitting is along x-axis. Sorry, axis 0. Okay, not x-axis. Axis 0, this is how your answers would look. Okay, let me just clear up some things. Okay, or probably I can have this in the next slide also. Okay, so that's how the array would look. So if I am actually displaying it, can you see B as the first row? Can you see C as the second and the third row? And can you see D as the last row? Okay, now what if I want to split along axis 1? Okay, let me take you to the next slide. When I'm splitting along axis 1, okay, I've kept everything the same so that I don't have to do a lot of work there and, redraw the whole thing, but I'll just drop this. Now this is along axis 1. So the division is not this. It's not this. Sorry. Okay, the division is not going to be this. I'm going to be doing along axis 1. But the division, how the array division is done is going to be the same. When you say 1, 3, the first array is going to have only index number 0. The second array is going to have index numbers 1 and 2. And the third array is going to have elements from 3 onwards. But remember, it's along axis 1. Okay, so the division is going to be like this. This is your first array, 1 and 2. This is your second array. So can you see the division is unequal? You have the first array with only elements, only one column of elements. You have the second array with 2 columns of elements and 4 rows. And you have the third array with 3 columns of elements and 4 rows. Okay, so that's going to be your array B, C, and D. Okay. I just want to mention something here. Suppose the split was np.split and a comma, suppose the index mentioned is 0, 3. Then what happens? Okay, my first array is going to be from the beginning of the index, which is 0 to less than this number. So 0 to less than 0. You cannot start at 0 and say it's less than 0. So in this scenario, your first array is going to be an empty array. Okay. Your second array will start at 0 and to less than 3. So it's going to be talking about index 0, 1, and 2. And your third array will definitely be from 3, 4, 5. Is that clear? So if you're going to start something at 0 itself, then remember, you cannot say start at index 0 and go 1 before 0. That doesn't make sense. So your first array is going to be an empty array. What you need to understand here is that every time you use the indexing method of splitting, you will get 3 arrays. Whether the 3 arrays have elements or no will depend on the indexing that you have used. So I hope this is clear. I hope you have understood how the splitting function works. Okay, so split can be used 2 ways, equal division or unequal division. Okay, when we are doing equal divisions, for splitting across axis 0, we used vsplit, and for splitting across axis 1, we used horizontal split. Is that clear? Okay. Bye.